I swear the most productive, that girl version of myself only exists after 11 p.m. At night, I have my entire life figured out. I'll tell myself that tomorrow I'll go to yoga class, I'll go to the gym, I'll study for my exam, like finally get my life together, you know? But when the next day came, when I wake up, somehow that girl is gone. Let me tell you a story. 2 years ago, I had the perfect day plan. I had yoga booked the night before. I made plan with a friend to grab matcha together. I remember I even picked out an outfit the night before because I was so excited. But when the next day came, when I wake up, I spent almost 10 hours frozen in bed scrolling on TikTok. Obviously, I canceled the yoga class. I had to pay for the stupid cancellation fee. I ghosted my friend and I didn't even leave the house. Honestly, the wasted time wasn't even the worst part, but the worst part was realizing I'd broken so many promises to myself that I started believing my actions more than my word. And at the end of this video, I'll share with you guys the realization that helped me stop repeating the same cycle over and over again. And it has nothing to do with discipline. If you're sitting here thinking, Lily, you just have zero self-control, trust me, I thought the exact same thing. I became completely obsessed with trying to fix myself. I bought aesthetic planners, tried every morning routine on YouTube. I even downloaded those annoying apps that lock you out of TikTok. I spent hours watching videos about how to stop procrastinating instead of, actually studying. Some of that stuff would work for like maybe 3 days or maybe a week if I was lucky. But do you know what? I always end up right back at the exact same spot, watching some girl live the exact same life that I want. That's why I don't think this is just a productivity problem anymore. It's not about finding the perfect study technique or a better app log. It's something way deeper than that. And once I finally realized what was actually happening, all the heavy guilt started making a lot more sense. One thing that completely changed how I look at procrastination is realizing my biggest problem was never what I was doing during the day. It was this weird obsession that I had with tomorrow me. Think about it. At night, it's so easy to make promises. Tomorrow, I study for 6 hours. Tomorrow, I stop scrolling and finally get my life together. And it feels amazing to say all that stuff because tomorrow doesn't have to deal with any of the actual uncomfortable part yet. Tomorrow doesn't have to open that textbook and realize I completely forgot half of the content. Tomorrow doesn't have to walk into a yoga class and feel super awkward. Tomorrow gets to have all the ambition, while the version of you sitting here right now gets all of the anxiety. That's why so many of us stay stuck. Every night, we accidentally use our own goals to make us feel better at the moment. We're imagining this perfect future instead of actually building one. And that's why I think planning can feel very addictive. It's not a bad thing, But the problem is that it gives us the emotional reward before we have done any of the work. For a few minutes, you get to feel hopeful. You get to feel like your life is actually changing. You get to picture the version of yourself who wakes up early, who studies consistently, drinks enough water, and somehow has everything together. The problem is that your brains get the emotional payoff immediately, while the actual work stays exactly where it was. I know that sounds a little call out, but how many times have you felt like you were being productive just because you planned everything out? You made the aesthetic schedule, watched the study vlog, picked the workout, bought the notebook, create the Pinterest board, and then never actually did the thing. I used to mistake planning for progress all the time. The fantasy of changing felt almost as good as actually doing the hard work. That's why Tomorrow Me was so addictive. She made me feel hopeful without forcing me to actually do anything. Eventually, it hit me. Every single time I pushed something onto tomorrow, I was just tricking myself into belief that a future version of me would magically have more discipline. Tomorrow always turned into delay, and I was the one who dealing with all the mess left. Once I finally saw what I was doing, it felt like a huge weight lift off my chest. I stopped mad focusing on how to be this perfect imaginary version of myself. Instead, I just started asking a completely different question. What can I do right now to make tomorrow a little bit easier for me? Sometimes the answer wasn't studying for 6 hours. Sometimes it was just opening the document, writing one paragraph, or something like putting my gym clothes on the bed so that tomorrow when I wake up, I can go to the gym right away. Just tiny things. But those tiny things did something huge. They stopped me from relying on the fantasy version of myself and actually started helping the real one. One thing I never hear anyone talk about is eventually scrolling stops being fun. At least that's what happened to me. When I first got TikTok, it was actually great. I literally sent a lot of TikTok to my sister, to my friends. Feel so excited to scroll on TikTok, but somewhere along the line, it completely changed, and I didn't even notice. I remember this one afternoon, I caught myself laying in bed, staring at my screen, scrolling through videos that I didn't even care about. Nothing was making me laugh. I wasn't even interested in any of it. I wasn't even having a good time, but my thumb wouldn't stop moving. That was the exact moment I realized I wasn't opening the app because I liked it. I was opening it because I didn't want to be alone with my own thoughts. I knew that the second I put my phone down, reality would hit me all at once. The exam that I hadn't even started studying for, the work I kept pushing off, the goals I kept promising I'll start tomorrow. Just this heavy, uncomfortable feeling that I was falling behind in my own thought. Honestly, this shocked me. I always thought that I was scrolling to feel good. But most of the time, it wasn't about pleasure at all. It was just about relief. And there is a huge difference. Pleasure is, I genuinely want to do this. Relief is, I really don't want to deal with it right now. And those sound similar, but they're completely different experiences. Pleasure usually leaves you feeling satisfied afterward, but relief only works temporarily. The second it wears off, the thing you were avoiding is still sitting there waiting for you. That's why I could spend hours on my phone and feel worse afterward. I realized that I wasn't moving toward anything I care about. I was just postponing an uncomfortable feeling for a little longer. That's exactly why I could waste hours on it without even enjoying it. It wasn't giving me happiness, it was just giving me a delay. Once I finally saw for what it was, the answer was never about laziness. It was usually I'm completely overwhelming, I have a lot of things to do, or I'm terrified to start because I know that I have a lot of things ahead. I know that I have so much work to do that I don't want to do it right now. You know what I mean, right? I have so much things to do because of the postponing that I did for myself. I was procrastinated and I delay a lot of things. That's why now I feel like I have a lot of things to do, a lot of things that I need to finish. I don't want to deal with it right now. I want to rely it on the future me. That's why I need my phone. I need to scroll on TikTok to give me some time to process my thought, to give me some time to avoid the discomfort. The weirdest part is the second I could actually name that feeling, the urge to scroll got so much weaker. Not because I magically became disciplined overnight, but because I finally understood my feelings. I wasn't addicted to the app at all. I was just addicted to avoiding discomfort. And you cannot fix a problem if you're fighting the wrong enemy. I always thought that if I could become more confident, everything would fall into place. I would finally stop procrastinating. I would stop wasting time. I would become the person I kept promising myself that I would be. But you know what? Confidence wasn't what I was missing. The real issue was that I had stopped believing my own promises. And that's a much harder problem to solve. For example, every time I told myself I'll study tonight, then I didn't. I'll wake up early tomorrow, then I didn't. I'll start preparing for the exam next week, and then I didn't. I was teaching myself something. Not that I was lazy, but that my own word didn't mean very much. Eventually, I couldn't take my own promises seriously anymore. I would make a plan for the next day, and a voice in my head would immediately go, yeah, right. Before I even started, because my brain just had too much evidence proving that I wouldn't follow through. Honestly, I think that's why many of us feel stuck. We think we just need more motivation, but what we actually need is proof. If your best friend lied to you every single day, you will stop trusting them, right? Like, obviously. So why would your friend trust you when you spend so much time breaking promises to yourself? I know that sounds a little harsh, but really enough, realizing this was the only thing that actually helped me meant I didn't need to magically transform into a new person overnight. I just need to start rebuilding that trust again. And you rebuild trust with yourself the exact same way that you do with anyone else, by making tiny promises and actually keeping them. For example, instead of saying, I will study now, I will spend 10 hours study right now, it's more like now I'll go to a chapter 1 first, and then once I finish chapter 1, I can go to the chapter 2, just something tiny, open a document, read one sentence, and then actually doing it. Instead of saying, oh my god, I will delete TikTok, I will delete Instagram, I will remove all of the social media. No, don't do that. Because I know 100% you will redownload it right away. I just need you to think something like, oh, I will not touch my phone for 10 minutes, for 20 minutes, and then actually doing it. I also realized that the biggest mistake I made was prove to myself that I can become a new person in 24 hours. What actually worked for me was proving to myself that my own voice meant something again. You know what? Confidence isn't something that you just feel out of nowhere. It's built on evidence. And every single time you follow through on a tiny thing you said you were going to do, you're collecting proof that you finally become someone you can rely on. One thing I wish someone had told me earlier is that I had spent so much time trying to get rid of the guilt. Every time I waste a day scrolling, my immediate thought was, how do I stop feeling like this? But I had it completely backward. Guilt isn't always a bad thing. It's actually a really important signal. Let's think about it. If you spend 10 hours scrolling on TikTok and then you feel nothing afterward, isn't that more concerning? At least the guilt is teaching you something. The guilt means a part of you still cares, right? Means that a part of you still wants more, knows what you're capable of, and hasn't completely given up on you yet. That's a good sign. That totally changed how I look at those wasted days. I used to think that guilt was a proof that I was broken. Now I see it as proof that I haven't stopped caring yet. For me, the scary place to be isn't feeling guilty, it's feeling indifferent. It's when you can waste weeks or months of your life and feel nothing at all. The real danger isn't the heavy feeling that you feel after the wasted day, after the bad day. The danger is that you let that guilt turn into shame and you start telling yourself that you are a loser, you are lazy, or you are incapable. That is what keeps you stuck. I'm telling you, it's not about scrolling at all. It's the story you tell yourself about who you are afterward. So the next time you spend hours on your phone and that sinking feeling show up in your stomach, don't just try to numb it or push it away. Instead, just realize that the guilt isn't your enemy. It's just the version of you who knows your actual potential, refusing to let you give up on yourself. And as long as that part of you is still there, I promise you're not as stuck as you think you are.